Hello everyone. Before we get started with the fantastic horror book reviews I have for you today, I want to remind you that I have horror books for sale, including my debut horror novel, Pray for Salvation. You can find that one. It's on sale for $1.99, and you can find that one along with all the rest of my horror books at the link in the description. And if you want to join my Patreon, you'll get all my books for free, all my future books for free. And every month I'll give you free books from other horror authors as well as free short horror stories. So if that's something you're interested in, check out my Patreon link and help support the channel. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first book I'm going to talk about today is called The Wild Things. This one is a supernatural horror story mixed in with a twisty-turny mystery kind of thriller. And it's about a woman. She's a successful true crime author. Now, she moves around a lot because she likes to be close to the locations of the cases that she's investigating that she's going to write about. So she's used to moving. But she bought a house this time for the new book she's writing in an HOA-run neighborhood that they call the Cove. And even when she gets there, as soon as she gets there, before she even sees her house, creepy things are going to start happening. She starts seeing a vision or maybe an hallucination of a little girl in tattered clothes who looks suspiciously like the case she's investigating. Because the case she's investigating is about a girl that went missing 13 years ago from that area and never been found. But in the last couple of years, people have reported seeing her now as an adult, and they just know it's her. But nobody has any information. Nobody seems to know where she is. So is she alive or dead? And if she's alive, how come our protagonist is seeing these visions or hallucinations of her? She racks that up to an overactive imagination because she gets really involved in her cases that she's writing about. And she doesn't get a lot of sleep, and she's under a time pressure. And so she just thinks it's her overactive imagination. She moves into this really nice house in this neighborhood called the Cove. And there she's going to meet her neighbors. This is an eclectic, unique bunch of people, to say the least. Let me put it that way. The people across the street from her, they're the people in the neighborhood nobody likes, that everybody wishes would move out. They're an older couple, and they complain about absolutely everything. They come out of their door yelling at people not to park by their curb. Every little violation, they go out yelling and screaming profanities at people. They're really not a nice couple. And every time she meets other neighbors, they kind of warn her about kind of avoiding these people because they're like the neighborhood bullies, kind of. And then she meets her next door neighbors, who could be more the opposite at first. They're very warm, very welcoming. They own several businesses, including a health drink company, which they give her a basket of, vitamin water with different flavors and things like that. And everybody in the neighborhood calls them the Wild Ones because they're very generous hosts, apparently. Everybody loves them. Everybody wants to be their friend. Because even though they're not on the HOA board, they kind of run things. But they have parties every month with different themes. Free food, free drink. They invite everybody from the neighborhood, even the neighbors across the street who show up, even though nobody really likes them. But they seem to be all about unity and neighborhood and community at first. But this neighborhood, all of these people have some very, very dark secrets. Things that are going to transpire that you are not going to believe at first. I mean, it gets weird, it gets creepy, it gets out there. And in the meantime, our protagonist is still seeing these visions of this girl, but she doesn't know who she is. She's hearing voices sometimes in her head. She's seen a horrifying figure dressed in black with a top hat, a human-like figure with extremely thin legs and arms that squats in tree branches, and when it moves, it scuttles. It almost sounds like an insect, not really a human. And she starts experiencing all these creepy weird things. And then people are going to go missing. Some people are going to start dying, and it's soon going to become apparent that one of the neighbors she meets are not who they first appear to be. There is something very evil, very malevolent, and very twisted about what they are doing. And they're basically using the neighborhood for something. I'm not going to give it away, but you'll have to read about it. But it just gets bloody, and it's going to get very, very frightening as well. Yeah, this one is great. You got all the supernatural elements. You got the mystery of this missing girl who may or may not still be alive. You've got all these weird, quirky neighbors, some of which are going to be much, much darker than others as the secrets start getting revealed. And you're going to find all this out right along with the protagonist. So it's a very engaging read as well. I absolutely love this one. Of course, I highly recommend it. And it just came out on the 25th, just a couple days ago from when I'm making this video. So it's a brand new book. Definitely want to pick it up, and I'll leave a link down below where you can pick up your copy in the description. And next we have Somewhere Quiet, Full of Light. This is going to be the only pre-order on the list today, and I will leave a pre-order link in the description. This is a fantastic novella. It takes something you might be familiar with, kinda. Takes the idea of a haunted house, but it's unlike anything you've ever read before, because actually this house is not haunted. This house isn't even really cursed, but the house is sentient, and the house has issues. Let's put it that way. This is about a gay couple who move in with their 2 children in this house. It's a fixer-upper in a small town. One of them seems to be obsessed with this house. As soon as he saw it, as soon as he looked at it, and he's one of these guys, he has an eye for home renovation. Like they flip houses for some of their money. And so his husband trusts him, but he's just, one of them is not sure that he wants to move his family in there because it's isolated. It's not too far away from the main town, but the main town is really small, and he doesn't know if he wants to raise his kids that far out. Plus, he's thinking about the money situation. It's a fixer-upper. It's going to cost some money to renovate. But his husband says, hey, you know, we can do this. We've got the money now. We've got this extra money. We can fix it up, and we can live here, and in a couple of years' time, it's going to be worth 3 times what we paid for it. And so finally, reluctantly, they all agree, the whole family agrees, this is going to be our new home. But the thing is that this house isn't haunted, as I said, but it does have things living inside of it. And the character who really wanted to live there, who pushed for his family to live there, he starts just becoming unhinged and utterly obsessed with this house. He slowly starts losing the thing that makes him him. He acts more robotic. He doesn't seem to care about the things he used to care about. But he is obsessed with every little detail about fixing that house, every little spill, every little scratch. He's right there trying to fix it, acting like, you know, it's a big deal that somebody, you know, bumped into the wall and maybe put a crack in it or something. Like, he's just obsessed with fixing the house. Now, the great thing about this book is that every so often we're going to get a chapter in there, and we are going to hear it from the house's perspective. That's how you know it is sentient. That's how you know this house has feelings. And the feelings it has is that when this house finds people that love it as much as it wants to love them, it will never ever let them go. And the means by which they control that situation, you'll have to read about. But I've never read a book before where I heard from a house and how the house is feeling about everything. But one thing is for certain, once this house gets this hook inside of this man becomes obsessed with this house. His family no longer matters, and pretty soon his family are going to be trying to escape for their lives, because this house and this man is not going to let them go anywhere. Yeah, for a novella, this one really, really worked. It's a great study in human character as this couple and the love they had for each other, along with their kids, starts to become unraveled. So it's kind of like a psychological horror. But then you got the supernatural elements with the things that are living in the house, and of course, the house itself and its evil intentions. And you'll have to read about all that. But this one is fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Yes, I highly recommend it. And as I said, there is a pre-order link in the description. You don't want to miss this one. And next we have Dark Violin. I don't even know what to say about this one. I don't. This one is truly, I don't really care about trigger warnings in books. Like, I never read them. I'm aware I'm reading horror. I know I'm going to read about some very horrific things. But if you're sensitive at all, you want to pay attention to these trigger warnings. Because the themes of this book that run throughout the book, these are the main themes, not subtext. These are the main themes that you are going to read about over and over throughout this book, are incest, sexual assault, suicide ideation, and revenge. Well, let me tell you, this book is dark. Okay, it is dark. It is bleak. This is not what I would call a fun read, like emotionally and mentally. It's just not a fun book to read, but it is very well written, and it puts you in a certain mental state when you're reading it that you want to keep reading more. Kind of like looking at a car crash. You just can't look away. And at its core, this is a book about revenge, but this isn't a revenge book like a slasher revenge. The revenge in this book isn't just somebody wronged me in the past, so now I'm back and I'm going to kill them quickly. The torture and the things that this person does to exact their revenge is over a period of months and years to certain people, manipulating them, torturing them both mentally, emotionally, and even physically, taking their time, wanting them to stay alive enough to suffer, but while they're living, they want to be sure they suffer as well. But they just don't want them to die because they're having a lot of fun torturing them. And this book, have you ever been walking down the stairs in the dark and you think you came to the last one and then you step down? You know that feeling right before you think you're going to fall? That's the way this book made me feel reading it most of the way through, because you never know what's going on. We're dealing with different characters. We're dealing with a lot of moving parts here. And it was just fascinating to try to put all these together. But even when I tried, I couldn't do it. But at the end of the book, trust me, and he saves the really, just when you think it couldn't get any more horrific, this author, once he explains exactly what's going on and how all these characters are connected and what's really happening, it becomes even more grim and terrifying than it did all the way throughout, which was bad enough, in a good way, I guess you can say, when you're reading. But this book is definitely twisted. It is sick. It is disgusting. It will raise hackles on your head. It will give you certain feelings, all right? It's very grim. It's just, like I said, it's not one of those feel-good books. After you read it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah. No, after you read it, you're going to feel like you want to swallow a Brillo pad to scrub your soul a little bit, you know? But still, it is so well written that I was just completely taken by this book. This author just put every unimaginable twisted thing he could think of in these characters, and it just works. You're confused and discombobulated throughout a lot of it, and I'll admit that. But for me, that worked because I knew if that payoff is good, that it was going to be worth it. And oh my God, it was nothing I couldn't even think about. It's just sick and twisted, disturbing, and I absolutely loved it. Let me put it that way. And I definitely highly recommend it. It came out just last month, so again, it's a new release. It is a longer book. Give yourself time. Prepare yourself mentally. And definitely give it a go. I think a lot of you are really going to like it. Let me put it that way. And I will leave a link down below, of course, in the description. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.